Toy Story in 1995 to this year's Inside Out 2, Pixar have been at the forefront of CGI animation for nearly 30 years at the movies, with astounding animation to heart-wrenching storytelling to unforgettable characters. Pixar know how to make us laugh and make us cry. We're here to count down our favourite Pixar movies, but first, here are the top 10 Pixar movies at the worldwide box office. Okay, at number 10, see, I knew I'd mess up. Okay, right, at number 10, it's Up with $735 million.
He is a good and smart master, and he made me this collar so that I may talk. Squirrel!
At number 9, it's Monsters University, $744 million.
Welcome to the scare floor.
At number 8, it's Coco with $815 million.
You know what? I'm just gonna zip right over. You won't even know I'm gone.
At number 7, it's Inside Out with $859 million.
If you don't eat your dinner, you're not going to get any dessert.
Wait, did he just say we couldn't have dessert?
At number 6, it's Finding Nemo, $940 million.
Don't worry, whales don't eat clownfish, they eat krill. Swim away! Oh look, krill!
At number 5, it's Finding Dory with $1.02 billion.
Thank you.
At number 4, it's Toy Story 3 with $1.06 billion.
My tail! Where's my tail?
At number 3, it's Toy Story 4 with $1.07 billion.
Everyone, I want you to meet Forky.
At number 2, it's The Incredibles 2 with $1.24 billion.
Yes, you are a tiny god.
And at number 1, unsurprisingly, it's the latest Pixar movie that is still in the cinemas now, Inside Out 2 with $1.58 billion.
You got a real sweaty palm there, buddy.
So there you go. That's the top 10 at the box office. Will that be different to our top 10s? I don't know. But our guest is one of our wonderful top heads and somebody that I'm proud to say that I've now met in the flesh. It's Kirsten. Yay! Oh, look at that. And the music stopped at exactly the right time as well. I feel like serendipity there. How are you, Kirsten? How's things going?
I'm doing great, relaxing at home. Last week at home for vacation before I have to go back to my classroom. So, yay.
Yeah. That yay was filled with so much meaning. We were talking before we came on about how like our kind of school year and your school year differs, and in regards to like snow day. You mentioned you had snow days.
We do.
You get a certain amount of snow days every year.
Well, they build in 5 into the schedule, and if we don't use those 5, we get out early.
Right.
And there have been times, there is a law here in New England where we cannot go to school past July 1st. And we have had winters where we've gone to school until July 1st because there was so much snow. There was one year we got like over, in totals, they said over 8 feet of snow total. We had, it was just storm after storm after storm after storm. And so we went to school until July 1st, and it was terrible.
So what's the cutoff in regards to like levels of snow or whatever that means that you have a snow day?
Usually it just depends on how bad the road conditions are. They have in the town I work in, we've actually had school canceled because it kind of made big news here in the United States that there was gas explosions.
Oh, wow.
And because of the gas explosions in the town, we lost school for like 3 days because people had to leave their homes. But as far as weather is concerned, it has to do with just how bad the roads are and if they need to clear it, because a lot of times they just don't want people out on the roads.
Oh my
and
God.
If the buses can get through, school buses.
And as I said, here our country just grinds to a halt if there's leaves on a railway line. So it's it kind of puts everything in perspective. Right, so we're doing Pixar movies. I'm assuming that you're a Pixar fan.
I am. I have seen all 28 Pixar movies. Right. I have seen them all.
I don't know how easy or hard it was for you to put your top 10 together.
At first, it was really easy. And then we started talking at dinner last night about our favorites. And I'm like, no, I think I'm going to move some. So I did end up moving some things around. My initial 10 was, I knew what my number 1 was right away. That one I will say.
Right.
Because that one's my all-time favorite. I've seen it multiple times. It's funny. Even before I became a parent, I was a fan of the Pixar movies. And then and since being a parent, I've watched them even more on repeat. So, yeah, I did have to move some around. My number one never changed, but I did move some. I moved a couple of them up and moved a couple down in the last couple days.
Yeah, it wasn't until I went on YouTube and then I started going down the rabbit hole of the short films as well. Just how great how great some of those short films are.
The short films are great too.
Yeah, I mean, we could almost probably do a top 10 of your favorite Pixar short movies, because that used to be the thing that was the thing. You'd go to the cinema and they do a short movie first and then obviously the feature. Yeah. I mean, I've loved Pixar right from the start, right from the first Toy Story movie. I think especially if you're I find it works a bit like The Simpsons. There are jokes there that are on everybody's level. So the kids have jokes, and there are also jokes for adults that are going to fly over kids' heads. But the emotion, I think there's got to be at least one or two moments in every Pixar movie that is going to make everybody cry.
Oh yeah. There was one on my list that I rewatched just because I hadn't seen it in a while, and I cried at the end, even though I knew what was going to happen. I still cried. And
I think that's their gift, is the fact that apart from, I mean, for me, I love things like the sound design on things like the Pixar movies, just the ASMR of it all. You know, I just love that. I could just listen to a Pixar movie and be happy, but I found it really hard in the fact that a lot of my movies have got something that relates to like nearly every member of my family, whether it's my wife or whether it's my grandkids. So I'm a little bit, even now looking at my top 10 now, I'm torn that certain ones should be higher than others. So I'm still torn on I think my top 10 may change as we do it tonight, because there's definitely one there that I feel shouldn't be where it is. It should be a lot higher, but I can't see how I can. Oh, it's going to be tough.
It is going to be a tough one. Yeah, they're all so good.
They are. Right, before we do anything else, we need to... Let me get that ready. We need to do this.
Lisa's Challenge.
What the fuck are you saying?
Okay, so how many, Kirsten, do you think we're going to get as duplicates?
I put a lot of thought into this. At first I was thinking 4, but now I'm thinking maybe 5.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I mean, you're going to go 5. I'm actually going to go higher. I'm going to say that we're going to have 6.
Okay.
I mean, for full disclosure, I was going to say 5 as well, but you've said 5, so I'm gonna go the fact that we're going to go for 6 the same.
Okay.
In Lisa's challenge, but who knows? We'll have a little quiz in the middle as well. Okay. So I won't tell you exactly what kind of quiz, but we'll have that. But why don't you kick us off with your number 10?
So my number 10, it's one of the newer ones, and I actually rewatched it yesterday with my son. It's Turning Red. It was one of those that it was funny at the time when it came out. It caused some controversy because of the fact it's about adolescence. It's about turning that bridge between being a child and becoming an adolescent. And they talk about the girl, is she starting her period? And a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're talking about this in a Pixar movie. But for me, it's really meaningful as a mom. I'm an older mom. My son is 11. So he's kind of in that funky stage where he's starting to become, he's still a boy. He still loves giving me hugs. He likes to cuddle. But at the same time, he's making, and he makes fart jokes. But he's starting to become a teenager. I can see it in that he's eating. He's starting to get like hair on his legs. And so it's all those little things that are just starting to happen with him. And I can see that he's changing. And although this was a story of a girl and her mother, I still kind of relate to that movie because I'm going through it right now. I'm going through it. So, and I have a daughter, but we adopted her, and we adopted her when she was older. So I didn't really get to go through that with her.
Right.
We're at a different stage of life with her, but it's sometimes also for me makes me kind of makes me wish I had, I don't know, maybe if I had been able to go through those tumultuous teenage years with her. We met her when she was 14, so she had gone through kind of the brunt of it. But we did get to see her grow as a person through high school and now young adulthood.
Because Turning Red was one of those movies that I've never understood the reason why Disney decided to make them go straight online.
I actually was reading about that. I was reading a lot of people were really upset that they released it. They didn't release it in the theaters.
That's right. I mean, it was all. I think it was all COVID related, and Soul was another one that was like that. Too. And it kind of, I think the Buzz Lightyear, as in the Lightyear movie. I think. Yeah,
the Lightyear movie was out in theaters. We saw that one in the theater.
But that sort of bombed. And there was like 4 or 5 movies where it felt like Pixar had lost its magic a little bit. But I also think it felt, for me at the time, it felt like Disney had like sold them up the river a little bit. You know, you've got these movies that are real. I mean, I think Soul it didn't make my top 10, but it's a great movie. Yeah. And Disney didn't put it out in the cinemas, and it kind of it's kind of devalued the Pixar brand a little bit, and I think that was one of the reasons why the Lightyear movie. I thought the Lightyear movie was quite good I
thought it was pretty good. It didn't make my top 10.
Yeah, a standalone kind of movie. It was a clever idea that it was about the real guy that the toy was based on. But yeah, so I mean, I've seen Turning Red. I really enjoyed it, but it kind of, for me, it's one of those lost Pixar movies, because I forget that it's a Pixar movie. I always think it's just like a Disney, like a Moana or something, or an Encanto movie. But yeah, that's really interesting what you say, because again, as much as there is, you look at it, it's about this big, massive panda bear, you know, but the underlying story to it is the thing that Pixar do so well. They will have stupid things about it, but their underlying message in every film is always the thing that breaks your heart, is always the thing that makes you think about other things than just silly things that are going on the screen. That's a great start. Okay, my number 10. Which one do I go for? I've got 11 in my top 10, Kirsten, to start with. I'm going to go with Toy Story 3, okay, for my number 10.
That's my number 9.
Oh, there you go. There's one already. Now, did this movie need to be made? I don't know. I really don't know. Because Toy Story 2 had such a great ending. But there are some great I mean, Keanu Reeves is... I can never remember the character's name, but like the
Evil Knievel character.
The Evil Knievel, yeah, but the Canadian one, wasn't it? Yeah, the Duke Nukem, I think. No, that's an old PC game. Anyway, and I was also, I watched, because I did watch Toy Story, the original, while I was doing bits and pieces for this. And at the time I can remember watching Toy Story thinking, my God, the animation here is amazing. But if you put Toy Story against Toy Story 3...
Toy Story 3, it came a long way. It really did.
The detail is just incredible. It's like, it is photorealistic to the top degree. Yeah. And it makes Toy Story look like something that was done on a Sinclair Spectrum or something from the 80s. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it is funny watching it. Even it still holds up even after this time. And for me, why I picked it, and I even made a little note, is that it felt like it was a little bit of the passing of the torch.
Yes.
The whole idea that it was going from, the boy who's all grown up now and going to college and giving the toys to the little girl who gets to use them at home. And then it kind of introduces new characters. So that there's no end to the sequels. And just the idea also for me as a teacher, and I worked in preschool for a really long time, just the thought of like Lotso and his whole thing going on at the school.
That's right.
It just kind of drove my imagination kind of crazy, like imagining what it must be like to be a toy in a daycare or a toy in a preschool.
And I've just realised, before I start getting emails saying how wrong I was, the Keanu Reeves character was obviously in Toy Story 4, not Toy Story 3.
Oh, was it? Okay, I couldn't remember.
It was
That's
Ken,
right.
wasn't it? There was a Ken. Michael
right.
Keaton did the voice for like this Ken doll that was in Toy Story 3, because it was Lotso, the strawberry smelling bear, wasn't it?
They do kind of blend after a while.
They do. I just cannot believe. Yeah. I mean, it's still, like I say, the one thing with Toy Story 3 was the whole moment at the near the end where they're like in the incinerator and they're all holding hands. And it got to the point where with the way that Toy Story, I thought, oh my God, they're genuinely going to kill all these toys.
I know. It's like you think of preschool and daycare as being like this innocent place. And it's like, it totally turned dark. It kind of gave me a little bit of like a Walking Dead vibe.
It did. It absolutely did. But it's, again, the special effects and the CGI is incomparable to Toy Story 1, but they've got such a great formula and the characters are also good. And it's, there's a great documentary, I think it's on Disney Plus, where they're talking about the original Toy Story and about how different that would have been. Because Woody was supposed to be like the baddie. He was going to be a really bad character.
Bad guy,
And they realized that it just doesn't work. And they kind of had to like rip it up and rework and everything, rework it all. But, okay, so we've got our first duplicate. So that is your number 9.
Yeah.
So my number 9, I'm going for Coco as my number 9.
Okay. That's my number 4.
That's your number 4.
That's one that I moved. I moved it up. It was originally my number 7 and I moved it.
Okay.
I'm like, no, we started talking at dinner last night just about the great cultural relevance and just how nice it is. And the music is lovely.
Yeah.
And for me, again, as a teacher, we teach in our school district, we teach about Day of the Dead. And that movie couldn't have come at a better time because the kids understood it. But sometimes we got pushback from some parents that were like, I can't believe you're teaching kids about Day of the Dead. And then when Coco came out, it kind of was like, oh, now I get it. Now we understand. And it's really important for kids to learn about cultures other than their own and to understand what it's all about. And again, the whole idea of family and it's just everything about that movie is just, I can't say enough.
Yeah, I mean, it really took me. It was I think it was around the same time that I watched Encanto for the first time.
Yeah,
because I hadn't watched Coco, and for some reason, both those movies, I had some kind of block of like, I can't be bothered to watch it. And I remember watching Encanto, and that quickly became my favorite Disney movie, an animated movie of all time. And so I thought, I'm going to give Coco a go. Let's give it a go. And again, I was just transfixed with just the beauty of it all. The songs, the heartbreaking bit at the end with the Nan, the Nana and stuff. It was just a beautiful story. So I need to get into the thing of thinking, look, Pixar has never let me down. So I mean, there's one movie that may come up or may not come up, but I've never seen Brave. I've
seen Brave. Brave is good too.
Is it good? Is it? See, I don't know why I've never thought I'm going to watch Brave. I've never sat down and watched, and I've got to do it because I love the majority of Pixar movies. So there's nothing. Why would I not like that one? So, well, that's 2. We've got 2. So
2 already. Here we go.
Oh my God, maybe 6 isn't enough. I don't know. But yeah, I would, anybody that hasn't seen Coco, and from the honorable mentions that we had,
I saw a lot of people pick that one.
Majority of people have said that Coco and Up were I think the 2 main ones that people said that they really liked. So it's definitely one that's a great one to listen to and watch. Okay, then your number 8 then, please, Kirsten.
My number 8 was Monsters, Inc.
That's my number 4.
Oh.
Oh dear. Okay, so that's 3 so far. Okay.
3 so far. I just love Billy Crystal and the idea of him playing a big one-eyed monster and just telling all the bad jokes.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Think about that.
I am so sorry.
That's okay.
I dinged
well
a teacher.
So yeah, I just really, I love the jokes. I love the fact that he's, the whole idea that they have to scare these little kids in order to get their energy, but in the end they realize it's actually their laughter. And then just the whole thing with the little girl, she is so, the way they have that character drawn, she's just so adorable. And you can't get over her big eyes, and she's just so cute. And all you want to do is just cuddle her, even though she's a cartoon character.
Yeah. It's such a genius idea that scares of what power their world, but they find out that actually laughter is such a genius idea. And that final scene at the end when you don't see Boo, but you just hear say, Kitty. And it's just so beautiful. It is so beautiful. I mean, like I say, that's my number 4. It's very close to being my favorite, but my top 4 are all easily interchangeable.
Yeah, mine were.
But I agree with that. The one thing I find really weird, especially with the movies that have made lots of money, they're pretty. I mean, the top 5 are all sequels.
Yeah.
But I find mainly the original ones are the ones I enjoy more than the sequels. But the sequels seem to have made billions. You know, it's very, very strange.
Yeah, I think some of their sequels are better than others. I did tend to like the first Monsters versus Monsters University. I really did enjoy Monsters Inc. more than Monsters University.
I agree. And I noticed that they just had, as we're recording this, they just had D23, which was the Disney convention in Anaheim, where strangely we were sort of in that area just as we were recording a couple of weeks ago.
Not too long ago.
Yeah. And they were saying that they're having a Monsters Inc. land, I think, at Disneyland.
Oh, wow.
And there's going to be a ride where it's like you're riding on the door. It's going to be like a suspended.
I wonder if they're going to make another movie. They must be.
They have to be.
Like that. They have to be.
They have to be. If they're going to do a land, they might as well just do a Monsters Inc. Or, I mean, would it be Monsters Inc. 3?
Maybe it would be the third one because they only have Monsters Inc. and Monsters University. I think are the only 2. Yeah. They have some short films as well, but those were the 2 movies.
Yeah. Well, okay. So that was your number 8. My number 8. Now this is one of the ones that I feel could be higher, but I'm going to go for WALL-E.
WALL-E. Yeah, that one didn't make my top 10. That one didn't. It's a good movie, but man, it hurts too much. That makes any sense. I
think mainly for the fact that it's exactly how human existence is going.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And the fact that like the first, whatever it is, 35, 40 minutes of the movie is basically a silent movie.
Yeah.
And you're just watching Wall-E do his thing. Yeah. But again, it is Pixar at its absolute best, where it is taking not inanimate objects, but objects that are not supposed to be able to show emotion, and that the love affair between Wall-E and Eva, isn't it? I think is and it's just, it is beautiful, so beautiful. But then you have the whole story of this spaceship where you've got all these people, all these massive people that are just on these on these chairs that are hovering around, and they're looking at their virtual reality. Yeah. It's exactly where we're going.
How many years ago was that movie made, and how much it applies now?
That's the scary thing.
Yeah, that's the scary part.
Yeah, we're destroying our Earth, but everybody doesn't care because they've all got their own little worlds that they're looking at, and they're doing nothing but drinking God knows what and eating God knows what. So, but yeah, it's a great movie, and another one of those ones where there's an underlying theme that's very serious and very emotional. But you also have just this beautiful love story between two robots. Yeah. Okay. So that's my number 8. So your number 7 then, please, Kirsten.
My number 7 is the very first Toy Story movie. I actually really love the first Toy Story movie just because it was so ahead of its time with the animation. And I love the story of friendship. And just that whole "You've Got a Friend in Me" song is just so catchy. And it's still, how many years later has that movie been around? I mean, that movie came out in 1995, right? And I remember I still watched it multiple times with my son. It's just a great, great movie. And I love the themes. I like the story. And again, just watching it visually, it is funny. You can kind of see that it was the beginning of the computer animation when you watch it like on a big screen, 4K TV, but it still holds up. I think it still holds up. And I love the story so much. Just the whole idea of, you've got this rival coming in and and he's so full of himself and ego driven and he thinks he's real. And then once he realizes he's a toy, the whole storyline is great. I love it.
And just that pure fact that when you're not in the room, your toys are coming to life.
Yes, yes.
So,
and then, the whole thing with, I think the kid's name is Spike. Is that Spike?
That was next door with Spike, wasn't it?
The next door neighbor, and what they do to make him not do with his toys.
That's
And
right.
I actually, years ago, I don't do this anymore. I'm like, haven't you guys ever watched, be nice to your toys. Haven't you ever watched Toy Story?
But can you imagine how many kids would have, like the nightmares that would have induced when they watch that and they don't want to go to bed and go to sleep because their toys are going to be coming to life. I would have just, I mean, I should have messed with, my kids, well, they would have been around about that, smaller age, some of them. I should have just moved their toys, gone in and moved their toys. But I know what you mean, especially like the human characters in Toy Story. They look very basic compared to what you get now. But it didn't make my top 10. I will say that one didn't make my top 10, but I will still go back and watch that because it is such a good movie. It is so funny.
It is very funny. And my son has he not anymore, but he had the Woody doll, and we made a point of having him write his name on the bottom of his foot.
That is so cool.
And everything. And so since his name is Jack, it kind of looks, funky like that.
That's lovely. That is so good.
Perfectly. Yeah. And it was just really nice to be able to kind of continue that tradition on. And he had a Buzz Lightyear too. So and he played with them both.
And the thing is, I can remember that Christmas that Buzz Lightyear was the toy to get for Christmas, and you couldn't get it anywhere, and it ended up being like Jingle All the Way, where everyone was after Turbo Man, and you were just you knew that someone somewhere would have it, but would charge you 5 times the price. It was ridiculous, but so good. Okay, that's your number 7. My number 7. Now this one, if my wife sees this is going to be very, very controversial. So I've got Up as number 7.
Number 7, yeah.
Now that should be way higher for me, but I was thinking about it, and the first 10-15 minutes is without doubt up there with Saving Private Ryan as one of the saddest, most heartbreaking starts to a movie ever. I just think that love story between the two, and I know that even if I started talking about it, I would end up getting teary.
Just thinking about their whole story. But I think that movie needs that just to show how lonely he is when he's by himself. And then just this little boy who ends up, wanting to, help him out because he's, a Ranger Scout or whatever it is, that he has to learn to kind of open up his heart again and find a new family. But it takes that whole course of everything that happens in the movie for him to be able to open up his heart again. But it's definitely a journey in that story.
It is. I mean, again, none of these movies are supposed to be realistic, obviously. But this one, I think more than anything, in regards to it being in the real world, it's ridiculous with a house flying off with loads of balloons.
Yeah, with the balloons.
And it ends up going where it needs to go. And again, I can't believe I'm actually trying to say about why this movie isn't very accurate in real world, because it's a cartoon, it's a CGI, movie. But I think there are parts of the movie, the start and the end, I think are beautiful. They are so beautiful. There's just bits in the middle that gets a little bit boring. So as an overall movie, it's not quite up there with the movies that I've got in my sort of top 5 or so. But without a doubt, for me, it's in the top 10 just for the opening 15, 20 minutes.
For that first little bit, that whole story with him and his wife is just it's so moving. I remember before I had seen it, a friend of mine's like, I don't know if you want to watch this because, that first little bit's a little bit heartbreaking. And I do kind of see that as being a little bit heartbreaking, but also uplifting, because he had the love of his life. Even though they weren't able to have children, they had each other, and they were able to spend their lives together for as long as they could.
And that's a beautiful thing.
I do love that. That to me is the beautiful part of that movie.
Yeah, I completely agree. Okay then, Kirsten, your number 6.
My number 6 is Finding Nemo.
That's my number 3.
Number 3. And that was one I thought that was a good spot for it. I liked, again, it's the whole idea. It's one of those the classic Disney trope, the whole, dead mother thing.
Yeah.
But I still found it really good. And I love, again, Dory makes it. I like Dory better in this one than in Finding Dory. I don't know why.
I agree.
Just something about her as the character, and her I Can Speak Whale. She's a really great sidekick, but just the whole again, the adventure, the father's angst, the whole idea of, a parent wanting to do anything to be able to find their child. And I love just the sorry, that was my cat. I don't know if he's agreeing with me or disagreeing with me.
You're talking about fish. That's what it is. Hungry.
It could be like, you're talking about fish. Yeah. I'm hungry now. Just the whole thing with Crush and the turtle. So now we are always like, dude. Mm-hmm. So that's always our favorite thing whenever we talk about turtles or sea turtles as well. So yeah, I just love that story. That's another one we've watched. I watched it as an adult before I had kids. And then again, we watched it on repeat more than many, many times with my son. That was one of his favorites for a really long time. And even now, kids will say oh, look, there's a Nemo fish. I mean, everybody's from now on and forever, kids will know what a clownfish is because it's a Nemo fish.
Exactly. And I think it always becomes, it isn't a clownfish anymore. It is a Nemo fish.
It's a Nemo fish.
Complete. And even Dory as well. If ever I take my grandkids and we're going to a aquarium, they'll say, "Oh, there's Dory." They don't know the name of the fish. Angelfish, is it?
I think she's a blue tang. Yeah.
It will always be a Dory fish. So it doesn't matter. Yeah. But I think, and it looks beautiful as well. The way that they've done under the water. And the colours and even the fact that you see little bubbles and it's just beautiful, especially like you say on a 4K big screen.
It still holds up. It still looks great. And I will admit again, as a parent and as a teacher, when we talk about kids and living things, I always try to bring up, because I know that it's something that kids can relate to.
Yeah.
The little girl, Darla, don't be I always say, don't be a Darla, the way she shakes the bag and kills all the fish. I'm like, you've got to, we always talk about how fish are living things, they're living creatures, and all animals are living things, and you've got to treat them with care. And we use her as an example of what not to be. And knowing that most kids have seen that movie, it's very helpful to bring up that reference.
Well, I was going to say that's got to be a wonderful teaching aid.
It is.
For any kind of movie that you think, I suppose it works for movies, TV, music, or any kind of art that you can use that as a.
Yeah, that's the thing I love about Pixar movies is you can use their themes in their different movies for almost anything. And so just that scene, that whole shaking the bag with the fish in it and trying to teach kids to be gentle with living things, she's definitely the epitome of what not to do.
Yeah. Don't be a Darla. That's a great one.
Don't be a Darla.
Okay, my number 6 is Ratatouille.
That's my number 5.
Yay! Now, I said earlier on about the fact that I love Pixar's sound design and the ASMR of it. This is another one, but it's also one of those movies that you shouldn't go and watch if you're hungry.
Yes,
because the
100%.
way they portray food is just, and the amount of times Peter, who's the guy who plays the critic, Peter O'Toole.
Yes.
The bit at the end when he eats the ratatouille and it transports him back to when he was a child. The amount of times that I've had that experience with just different things, whether it's a song or whether it's stuff like it encapsulates that moment perfectly, that there are certain smells, sights, sounds that take you straight back to being a kid. For me, it's one of those, and it's a ridiculous premise of it is. It's a talking rat that controls
a chef.
Control a chef by pulling his hair. It is just ridiculous, but it is such a good film. It's got such a good baddie. I can't remember the name of the guy, but the little chef that is trying
he's always trying to
catch the guy out is just genius. And it is so much fun. And it's not a movie that's got songs or anything in it. It's just a straightforward sort of caper, but it is such a good film if you haven't seen it. And it's one that a lot of people, you don't. If you say Pixar, it's one that I feel that seems to get forgotten.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. It's funny. I credit Ratatouille for making me a more adventurous eater.
Okay.
Not that I was ever not, but I'm one of those weird people. I don't like my food touching.
Oh,
and
right.
So if I had cafeteria trays all the time, I would totally eat off of a cafeteria tray. But they, at the whole beginning when he's talking about taking this with the cheese and then combining this and then just putting it all together and trying it, it made me want to try more different things too. I'm like, okay, look, this is a movie. I know it's a kid's movie, but now I'm much more open to trying different food combinations together because of watching that movie. We actually watched it. My husband and I watched it before we went on we went to Paris for our honeymoon many years ago. And so we watched that beforehand, and it really made me excited to go and try new things in Paris.
There you go. Did you go to Gusto's?
No, we did not. We did eat a lot of great food in Paris, though. It was like the best food I think I've ever eaten in my whole life was in Paris.
Lovely. Okay, so that's my number 6. That's your number 5. But before we get on to anything else, we're halfway through, so it's time for this.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
Okay, so it's quiz time. So what I've got lines of dialogue from certain Pixar movies. You have to tell me which movie it comes from.
Okay, we'll see how I do.
Let's see how you go. So number 1 is this. I have to sing. It's not just in me, it is me.
It's not Finding Nemo, is it? I don't know.
Are you asking me or are you telling me?
I'm telling you. No.
It's not. It's Coco.
Oh, it's Coco.
It's Coco. Okay, number 2. Fate can be changed. Look inside. Mend the bond torn by pride.
Oh. Is that Turning Red? I think Turning Red.
It's not. It's Brave.
Yes. It's brave. Okay, so they talk about that. They talk about that kind of thing in Turning Red too. So darn it.
Okay, number 3. 2319. We have a 2319.
It's got to be Toy Story. It's got to be Buzz Lightyear. No,
it's Monsters Inc.
Monsters Inc.
I think that's when the monster has the sock on his back.
He has the sock on his back. That's right.
Okay, number 4. Spare me your lies, temptress. Spare me your lies, temptress. Your emperor's defeated, and I'm immune to your bewitching good looks.
Now, that is Buzz Lightyear from Toy Story. One of the Toy Story movies. I'm guessing the first one.
Are you going for number 1?
Yeah, I'm going for number 1. I know it's Buzz Lightyear.
It was actually Toy Story 3, but I'll give you half. I'm going to give you half a point because you got the Toy Story bit right.
Yeah,
okay, number 5.
It was Buzzier.
Number 5. I shall call him Squishy, and he shall be mine.
Oh, I shall call him Squishy. That's Finding Nemo. That's Dory.
Yes,
talking.
it is Finding Nemo. Well done. Number 6. Greater good. I am your wife. I am the greatest good you are ever going to get.
Incredibles?
Well done. That was Frozone's wife.
Yes.
Where's my super suit?
Where's my super suit?
Yeah, I love that one. Number 7. First rule of leadership. Everything is your fault.
I don't know. First one, everything is your fault. I'm looking on my Inside Out. I'm just looking at my list. I'm making a guess.
It's not. It's A Bug's Life.
Oh, that's not one of my favorites.
No, that is definitely one that seems to get forgotten. It definitely seems to get forgotten, that one. Number 8. That might sound boring, but I think the boring stuff is the stuff I remember the most.
Oh, that's got to be Up.
Well done. That is Up. Number 9. Take her to the moon for me, okay?
I was going to guess Incredibles again, but I can't be Incredibles twice. Take her to the moon for me. I don't know.
Do you not just want to have a guess of any movie?
Take her to the movie. I'm going to guess Toy Story, just the first one. No.
It was Inside Out.
It was Inside Out.
It was. I forget what's the name of the creature that dies. Bongo, bingo, bongo.
Bingo, bongo. I can't remember his name either. And
I've
I've seen that movie a million times.
I've got to look, because that's going to just bother me if I don't find out what the name. It was Richard Kind, I think, that did the voice of it.
Yes, that did the voice. I remember what he looks like. He's like a big fluffy elephant looking
Bing
thing.
Bong. Bing Bong was his name.
That's right, Bing Bong.
Bing Bong. And the final one, number 10, this is the perfect time to panic.
I should know this one. Perfect time to panic. I'm going to guess Incredibles 2.
It was actually the original Toy Story.
Oh, well, that one was in.
It was the original Toy Story, but 3.5. That's not bad.
3.5.
You had a bit of a ropey start, but we got there in the end. So well done. Well done for that. Okay, back to the countdown. So at number 5, you had Ratatouille.
Yeah.
My number 5. Now, I've watched this movie probably more than any other Pixar movie, mainly thank you to Finley, my grandson, who was a massive Cars fan. So it got to the point where when I first started watching, I wasn't interested in watching Cars at all, and when it was on, it was kind of just on in the background just to keep my grandson happy during his Lightning McQueen phase that he went through. But then as I sort of sat down and sort of for the 20th time sort of went through the movie, I thought, I'm actually going to sit and watch this. And I really enjoyed it. I really, the sequels, not so much, but the first one, I mean, Paul Newman has a
Paul Newman's in the first
is
one.
in the first one, as Doc, and it is such a fun film. And I think it has, like I say, it has a special place in my heart because at the time it was my grandson's, like, everything was Cars, and it didn't matter about anything else but Cars. And like most kids, they go through phases. Then it's Spider-Man, then it's this, then it's that, but Cars was so important to him as a little kid that it's always been in my heart, I think. Yeah. So, and it always will do. So, where do you stand on Cars?
I like them. They were okay. They were not my favorite. So which Cars did you pick? Did you pick
the first one?
The first one?
Yeah.
So I would say of them all, I like the first one the best. My husband and I, this is again, dinner time conversation last night. My husband loves the one where they go to Japan. That one he finds very, very funny.
Yeah. I will say, when on my little trip to California, as we speak, was last week, when we went to Disneyland and we went to the California Adventure part of the Disneyland and went into Radiator Springs. Mm-hmm. I was stood there looking at it, and it's an absolute complete recreation of Radiator Springs in the movie. And I thought, my God, my 2-year-old grandson would absolutely, oh my God, he would have just ate this up. Maybe not so much now that he's sort of 6-7 years old. He's grown past that, but it is so just amazing. I mean, I love all that kind of stuff at the theme parks, the Star Wars land and all that. And it's just right to the way of the road. It's just fantastic. It's so good. So so that's there as my number 5. So your number 4 was Coco.
Yeah.
My number 4 was Monsters Inc. So what's your number 3?
My number 3 is not The Incredibles 2.
Oh, okay.
I like that one more than the first one, and I've seen them both multiple times. But Incredibles 2, to me, it's the whole idea that just the whole single dad, even superheroes need help. And for me, my son's name is Jack. And the fact that they find out that Jack has powers, and that the whole
powers.
Jack, all the powers, and Jack and the raccoon. I thought that's like my favorite scene in the whole movie. I mean, the whole movie's great.
Yeah.
But I do just the whole idea that mom's out doing her thing and dad's home, but he's struggling. Just really, really, I can relate to it as a parent because for a while my husband traveled for work, so I was the one who was at home. And now lately my schedule's gotten busier, so I'm home, gone a lot, and now it's my husband who's at home. Our son is older, but as a parent, it's not necessarily a movie about superheroes, but it's a movie about being a parent and how hard it is to be a parent. And I really really appreciated that on a whole different level.
Mm.
Again, it's one of those teachable moment things.
Absolutely. Yeah, it didn't make my top 10, The Incredibles 2, but and they've announced at D23 that there'll be an Incredibles 3.
Yep.
They're gonna round the
hopefully in less than 20 years or whatever it took them to do
let's
the
hope
first
so.
one.
Yeah, hopefully. But again, that story just hits you in the feels straight away. Apart from, as well as, Jack is just great.
That's the best.
Yeah, and just the whole way that the family sort of work together. But it's just a great film. It really is. I mean, I'm not going to finish talking about The Incredibles because it may come up a little bit more, but
it may come up again.
It may do. But that's great as number 3. So my number 3 was Finding Nemo. So we've already spoken about that. So back to you for your number 2 then, Kirsten.
My number 2 is the first Inside Out movie. I've seen them both. We actually did go to the theater to see the second one. But just for me, there's Inside Out, it almost made my number 1 because it's just, again, as an educator and as a parent, for me, when that movie came out, I'm a teacher who for many years worked with special education students, especially students who are on the autism spectrum. And just for me, for adults to be able to see something like that, to understand how feelings work and that we need to feel all the feelings, even the bad ones. And then to understand that there are some kids who may struggle with expressing their feelings or understanding their feelings. For adults and for children, I really, really felt it was a meaningful movie. And I know they put in a lot of work to kind of understand the idea of being able to express emotions. It, for me as an educator and as a parent, it was just huge. I would often, when that came out, I would be like, you really need to see this movie. If you want to understand your autistic child, you need to see this movie to understand that they may not always have the best way to express themselves. I mean, even neurotypical kids have a really difficult time expressing themselves. And if you've got a child who's on the spectrum, it's 10 times as hard. So to understand those emotions, it takes a lot of learning. And as far as in the education world, I think that's really come around a lot to people understanding that kids can't learn until they're emotionally available.
Yeah.
And that's a huge, huge piece of learning that a lot of people they just totally discounted it for years and years and years. It was always like, oh, just go to school, you'll be fine. But if there's a kid who's come from trauma, kid who's on the spectrum, if they're not emotionally available, they're just not going to learn. And so I really felt that it was just so good when that came out for people to have a better understanding of how our internal mechanisms work.
I think it's also great that you can put in your mind's eye, you can put a character, a look of a character onto an emotion.
Yes.
Because it kind of makes you realize that your emotions have their own character. And I think to think about it, I come from a generation where you never spoke about your emotions,
Nope. Yeah. Same.
And as somebody that has suffered from depression and anxiety, you have to talk about it. It doesn't do you any good to keep it quiet. And I think that the whole point of being able to, if you look into your mind now, you can see what sadness looks like, or you can see what joy looks like. And I think that's just a way for anybody. I mean, it's hard enough for adults, but adults can kind of talk about it. But somebody that's a child that doesn't even know how to communicate
they don't understand what is this feeling that I'm feeling.
Exactly. But they can at least, when they see Inside Out, they can see that in their mind's eye and think, right, okay, that thing I'm feeling now looks like that, looks like sadness, or looks like joy, or looks like anger. And I think it's again another one of those genius. When you look at it, it's a simple idea, but it's genius because no one else has had that idea before, and it's somebody at Pixar that has thought that this is a great idea. Did you ever watch Elemental?
I did watch Elemental. I didn't. I thought there were too many plot holes in that.
Because I've not seen it. It was one that kind of slipped through the net for me.
Yeah, my son said that would have been his number 1.
Oh,
choice.
Really?
And it's because it's the whole idea of fire and water. These two who are opposites come together and form a relationship. And it's a movie that's about more than just elements. It's about race and race identity.
Right.
But my son really liked that. But I was joking with him. I said, I just don't understand the idea of fire and water. If fire and water hugged, she would put out the fire and then she would start boiling.
Right.
But I did enjoy that one for what it was worth. It just wasn't one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's another one I need to catch up on, without a doubt. Yeah. Okay, my number 2 is the second movie of the Toy Story, franchise, if you like. So Toy Story 2. And again, probably the main reason is the whole Sarah McLachlan song, When She Loved Me. It breaks my heart as a father of daughters and with a granddaughter. It breaks my heart every time. It's that thing of like when your daughter has got a boyfriend and decides that you're not the number one man in their life anymore.
Yes.
And it always chokes me when I see it. But as a part of a movie that I think is just a great movie, it's just that little bit that I always have to make sure I'm prepared when I watch Toy Story 2. That song's gonna come, and I just have to deal with the emotion of that, but enjoy the rest of the movie. And also the whole scene where Woody is being repaired by that old guy. I love, that's another one of those ASMR.
Such a touching scene. It really is.
But it's just the minutiae of every thread, and it's just beautifully done. It's such a beautiful scene. It had to be. That's my favorite Toy Story movie of them all, obviously.
That one was tricky for me, knowing that there are 4, and they're making a 5th one.
Exactly.
They are making another one.
And I watched the bit from D23 on that. They were saying that it's supposed to be about toys versus electronics.
Oh,
because
that'll be interesting.
Kids don't play with toys anymore because they're too busy on their consoles or iPads. So that's going to be really interesting, because again, I thought Toy Story 4, was it needed? No. Is Toy Story 5 needed? Is it just a cash grab? But that's quite an interesting concept.
Yeah. It'll be an interesting concept. I'd be curious to see what they do with that.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
Absolutely. Okay, before we reveal our number 1 Pixar movies, Kirsten, do you want to give us a rundown of 10 to 2, and then I'll do the same?
Okay, so my number 10 was Turning Red. My number 9 was Toy Story 3. My number 8 was Monsters, Inc. My number 7 was Toy Story. 6 was Finding Nemo. 5 was Ratatouille. 4 was Coco. 3 was Incredibles 2. Number 2 was the first Inside Out movie.
Lovely. And mine was at number 10, Toy Story 3. Number 9, Coco. 8 was WALL-E. 7 was Up. 6, Ratatouille. 5, Cars. 4, Monsters, Inc. 3, Finding Nemo. And 2, Toy Story 2. So at the moment, we've got 5 the same, which is what you thought it was going to be. Yeah. I don't think we're going to have the same number 1. But Kirsten, what's your number 1 Pixar movie?
Well, you got 6. It's Up. Up is my all-time. I knew immediately Up was my favorite. And for all the things that we talked about before, that whole beginning scene and just everything. I love the little boy. I love the bird, Kevin. And I love the fact that his name is Kevin. Yeah. I remember when we went to Disney World, we with my son, there was like someone in character that was walking around dressed up as a bird. I'm like, oh my God. Kevin, I love it.
Yes, I've seen that before. It's
so better than a bird name. And we've gone to the beach and seen like tall cranes and stuff at the beach, and I always call them Kevin because of that bird. But yes, some of the stuff in the middle is a little boring, but I do, again, it's the whole idea of being able to open up your heart again, even as an older person. And I think one of the things too, I don't know if you find this in the UK, but in the United States, we tend to forget our old people. Old people are forgotten about. A lot of times when people get old, we put them in homes and then they just are forgotten. And the fact that these are still real people with a lot to offer still. And the fact that it becomes like a multi-generational family. The little boy keeps talking about, his dad this and his wife doesn't like this. And when he realizes how lonely the little boy is, as well as how lonely he is, and the fact that they're able to come together and kind of create this special kind of friendship / family together is to me, just really incredible. And also, I'm not going to lie, I love the dog. The dog's name is Doug. My husband's name is Doug.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. I mean, it is the thing. I mean, when Carl and Ellie are kind of like, well, me and my wife will sort of model ourselves on them. You know, I mean, my real name is Carl, which is weird. My wife is Anita, so it's almost Ellie. I bought 2 pop figures together, Carl and Ellie, and I always look up at them and think, oh my God, that is like me and the wife. So it's but that's the thing. Now that you've got it at number 1, it should be higher in my top. It should be probably number 2, in my top 10. But it is such a beautiful film. It is so good. So that's 6. We've got the 7 the same. It's not going to be 7 because my number 1 is The Incredibles, the original Incredibles. Again, the concept that you've got superheroes in this particular world, and the fact that they're trying to fit in was always such a great, and Mr. Incredible is like, the way that the way that he looks when he holds something, it just looks so fragile in his hands.
Yes, because he's so gigantic.
Yeah, he's just going to break everything, and he starts getting angry, and it is such a. I just love that movie. Yeah. And again, number 2 could have easily been in my top 10.
Yeah.
But without a doubt, The Incredibles for me is just a great movie, and like you with Up, that was straight away my number 1. Yeah. Without any shadow of a doubt. So that's mine. So I've won Lisa's challenge. But it was very close. It was very, very close. Okay, some honourable mentions before we say goodbye. Stu Grant says has to be Up, the most traumatic opening to any animated movie in recent memory. I would say to any movie. It doesn't have to be animated.
Movie. Yeah.
Vanessa Frey says Coco will always be my number 1. That film makes me sob and the music stays in my head for days.
The music is great.
Kim Mendes says Finding Nemo and Toy Story. Janine Bender, Toy Story, Monsters Inc. and Finding Nemo, top 3. Kaylee Barnes, tough choices, toss up between Toy Story and Cars. Maria Pereira says Coco and Cars hands down. Fun little Almost Famous, but my sister-in-law's family business was part of the inspiration for Radiator Springs, and they're even interviewed in the extras features on the DVD. And Coco just makes my little Mexican heart so happy. I cried from start to finish and still do whenever I watch it. Carol Barwick said, that's a toughie, but Up has hands down the most emotional scene ever in a Pixar movie. Nikki Dennis, top 3, Ratatouille, Monsters Inc. and Soul. Jodie Yokota has Up, Karine Pasta, Inside Out, and of course Toy Story. Kim Thomas Simons, Coco. David Ye is top 3, Coco, Wall-E, and The Incredibles. If I had to add more, it would be Toy Story 1 and 2. Kim Peniston, I love Up. Stephanie Marquez says Soul is fantastic. Dale Richard, Coco, and Up. If you don't cry within the first few minutes of Up, fix your life.
It's true.
Absolutely. Aaron Capone Langan says Incredibles 1 just because I'm a comic book fan. Nice jokes for comic fans. Subtle things all around, like when he was testing the robot over and over, and then it tried pulling him apart and fixing his back. You know, it ripped one of his friends in half before to know to do that. Makes the entire segment so much sadder for him. And then A Dog's Life says top 3 would be Toy Story 2, Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc. Also wouldn't be in my top 10, but a shout out to Jerry's Game as my favourite short.
Yeah, those shorts. You could do a whole episode on the shorts
absolutely
too. I had to restrain myself because there's a few of their shorts that I really, really love.
That'll have to be the next one then. We'll have to do. Yeah, because the Jerry's Game one is the character that's in that scene in Toy Story 2 that fixes Woody is playing chess with himself in a park, and it is so much fun. It's such a good.
I'm not sure if I've seen that one.
Have you not seen that? It is so good. It's an early one. It's an early one, but it is so funny. It is so funny. That's it, Kirsten. We've done it.
We did it. Yay!
We did it. We've done top 10 and I really think originally this was supposed to be top 10 Pixar movie moments. That would have been, I think, impossible.
It would have been hard because most of my moments would have been from Up.
Yeah, and I think that's what it would have been. But mine would have been all the sad moments from all the Pixar movies. So it would have been a real bummer. But no, I'm glad we got that one done because there's like I say, they've never really made a bad movie as far as I'm concerned.
They've got some good ones.
Yeah. Okay, so your holidays are nearly over.
Yeah, holidays are nearly over, going away for the weekend.
And
gonna hang at the beach and then come back and work in my classroom. Yes.
So as a teacher, the night before school starts, do you get that knot in your stomach the same as like when I went to school?
Yeah, even before school starts, it's the Sunday scaries. Basically,
Sunday scaries. That's brilliant.
We joke that August is pretty much like one long Sunday because you start thinking about going back to school. You start having those back to school dreams. I had a back to school dream last night where I went in my room and I didn't have any of my stuff, and it's like, so yeah, you have all of that panic, just like the kids. And I've been doing this almost 30 years. I still get panicked at the beginning of the school year. I do.
Do you? And does that, after the first day, that panic's gone, or?
Yeah, it tends to go away. The first couple of days are just a rush of just getting through the first couple of days. So we have Labor Day weekend. So basically the first week is very short. We only have the kids for 2 days, and then we have a long Labor Day weekend, and then we come back. So it's nice to get them for those 2 days and just kind of start establishing rules and routines and stuff, and then send them off on their way and then get back into the real learning the week after. So.
Oh, well, have a wonderful time.
Thank you.
Let me just let everybody know that all the information you need, whether you want to come and join us on Patreon and be just like Kirsten here and come and be a guest on your own episode, all the information is in the show notes, ways of listening to the podcast, all the merch, all of that kind of stuff. Go and find all the gubbins there that's in the show notes. It's a lot easier than me just telling you about it now. Just click on the links. It'll all send you there. Kirsten, thank you so much. Thank you so much a week or so ago for being so kind. And it was lovely. So nice to meet you and spend a day going around Newport Bay. It was
so nice.
Wasn't it nice looking at all these rich people with their houses
and
their boats?
So it was my privilege to hang out with you. You know that, right?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. It was my privilege for everything. So thank you for that. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and also for being a top head and being a supporter of our little podcast. So thank you for that as well.
My pleasure.
Bless you. Thank you very much, everybody else, for watching and listening. Now let's go start the countdown.